Hello, BookTube. I have a tag for you today that I was actually tagged in. Robert G., reader of books, tagged me in the rapid fire tag, which he did himself. I'll leave a link to his video down below. And I was hugely insulted by him tagging me because that means he was not aware of the fact that 8 years ago I did this tag. So I'm furious with him, and I think he should be canceled. It's true. 8 years ago, I did do this tag. And 8 years ago, I did the rapid fire version. The whole point of this is that you're supposed to do these fast. And I did mine in like 2 minutes 8 years ago. But, I recognize why Robert G., reader of books, did not know that I'd done this tag, because I've done 10,000 videos. And no one can be expected to spelunk through them. Perhaps some of these either-ors deserve more detail. So I thought we'd go through it again. Maybe not quite so rapid fire. Doubt I will get this done in 2 minutes. Question number 1 is ebooks or physical books? And for me, unlike Bob, that is ebooks. Hands down. They are completely superior in every way to print books. They are, in fact, a better mousetrap. I haven't caught on. I don't know why. If the publishing industry had swung behind them, maybe they would have. Instead, the publishing industry made a killing early and then has largely backed off. But despite the fact that I hear so many readers say, oh, yeah, like Bob said, physical books all the way. Despite the fact that I hear so many people say that, and despite the fact that I have thousands of books in this room, print and paper books, a lot of people I know read ebooks. A lot of them do. A lot of them do. Ebooks are far more convenient in every way. They're hideously overpriced. A lot of them are hideously overpriced, and that is the publishing industry's fault. If they'd wanted to make this take off, they could have priced it without simple piracy. There is absolutely no reason whatsoever to charge $13 for an ebook, especially when, in the case of Amazon and most other ebook retailers, you don't even own the thing. That's just robbery. But in every other way, and of course with a large library of side-loaded books, ebooks are better. They're just better. I've got a little device that I can just read everything on, as opposed to the ongoing war that I have been fighting in the last month with my print and paper books. So ebooks. Number 2, paperback or hardback. Well, if I had to choose, it would be hardback. I like paperbacks better, but hardbacks are just more durable. I'm rough on my things. Of course, I don't have to worry about being rough on my things if I'm dealing with a slate of metal and glass. I can't be rough on that book. I don't have the coding knowledge to be rough on that book. Number 3, online or in-store book shopping. Unfortunately, I don't have the option anymore for new books because Boston doesn't have a retail bookstore that would want me as a customer. They simply don't. There is a retail bookstore on Beacon Hill. I've never actually been there, but I'm sure that they don't have a sign on the front door that says Steve is not welcome. Me personally is not welcome. But there's a store in the part of Boston where I live as well that's just like the one on Beacon Hill, and they don't so much have a specific sign as they have a force field. And once you come in contact with the force field is able to determine that you don't think men can get pregnant. In which case, the force field lights up with colors in the manager's office, and suddenly they know, oh, we have an unsuitable customer, someone who's not going to buy the right books. And I have no interest in going to a bookstore where the people in charge think there are right books and wrong books. So I don't go, which means there is no retail store in Boston. There is no place where I can go for in-book shopping except the used bookstore that I go to. But I don't do much online shopping for books. I really don't do that. I have a large number of side-loaded books for ebooks, and I have the Brattle Bookshop for physical books. So I really don't do that. I have a large library of side-loaded books for ebooks. I have the Brattle Bookshop for old books. And I have books in the mail from publishers for new books. So I really don't have any cause to be going on to eBay and looking for deals. So I don't usually do that. Number 4 is trilogies or series. If I have to choose here, it would be trilogies, but I'd much rather have standalones. you've got a story to tell. Why don't you shoot your shot and then tell a different story next time? Number 5 is heroes or villains. That would be heroes, always. I am absolutely revolted at the way that fiction has done its part in the last 20 years, but it hasn't done much of a part because nobody reads. But popular entertainment, especially cable dramas and TV and movies, have done a huge amount to make impressionable young men think that the coolest thing in the world is to be a bad guy, is to do evil, is to be a villain. That is the coolest thing in the world. Think all the way back to The Shield, where the coolest guy in the show is a bad guy. And the guy who is good, Dutch boy, is not only seen as gormless, but is mocked, and in a funny way, so that you, the viewer, are compelled to laugh. Think of The Wire. Think of The Sopranos, probably the biggest example. Or Succession, where all of these shows show you, or Breaking Bad, all these shows show you that the coolest way to be in the world is to be bad, is to be a villain. Or maybe even go a little further and say there is no such difference between a villain and a hero. I hate what that's done, and the full effects of what's that done are coming to bear. If you don't believe me, go to a random high school in any city in the United States and talk to a group of 18-year-olds, 18-year-old boys. You will never have encountered in your life, unless you happen to be old enough to have questioned a concentration camp guard, you will never in your life have encountered such amoral people. People for whom even the concept of morality is so distant from anything comprehensible that... Anyway. Number 6. A book you want everyone to read. I believe that 8 years ago I said The Canterbury Tales. That would still be a good choice, but really, in the years since, it has become more clear to me that nobody reads. So any book, I just want you to read. Any book will be fine by me. Although, if I had to pick, and if people weren't shy of reading, I would say The Ancestor's Tale by Richard Dawkins. 8 years ago, I had no idea the full extent of science denial that would grip this country. Fully 80% of the adults in this country, in the United States, don't believe a word of what they would encounter in The Ancestor's Tale. Don't believe a word of it when it's established, proven science that undergirds all their health medication. So I would say that, although it's a big undertaking, it's a big book, it's really good. Number 7, recommend an underrated book. Here I will recommend Jaws 2, the novelization of the movie Jaws 2 by Hank Searles. I've recommended this book before. You would take one look at it and think this is fit for Garb August. It's not. It's actually good. In some ways, I think, better than Jaws by Peter Benchley, but certainly as good. So I'm going to recommend that. Long out of print, but I'm sure you can find a copy. Number 8, the last book you finished. It was a book called Goliath's Curse by Luke Kemp. It's about the way that great powers rise, live, and especially die. And the impression I had of it, I will go over bits and pieces of it with a finer tooth comb. I think it comes out until next month. The impression I got mainly from it was that Luke Kemp hasn't read much world history, which is not a good impression that you want to have with a book that does this kind of thesis. Number 9 is the last book you bought. I honestly don't remember. The last 200 books that I got at the Brattle Bookshop were all done with store credit. Does that count as buying? I don't know that it does. I don't buy any books online. I don't buy any new books, so I honestly don't remember the last book that I bought, unless you count all the stuff that I got at the Brattle. Number 10, weirdest thing you've used as a bookmark. I think last time I mentioned that I used a $100 bill. I use U.S. currency. I try not to do it anymore. But I have many times in the past used U.S. currency as a bookmark because it's the perfect size. It is the exact same size as a bookmark. It's the perfect size, so it's the thing that I happen to have with me a lot of the time. Baby, don't be startled. Just get your head out of your butt. You can't keep doing this, Frida. Come here. Here you go. Where's the baby girl? Oh, there's my girl. Oh, there's my baby. I had a bit of a problematic day for the little baby. I think I'm headed probably to years of those, so I'll get used to them. But since then, I have also remembered another weird thing. I don't know if it's weirder than using a $100 bill for a bookmark, but I've remembered another weird thing that I very briefly, just for one night, used as a bookmark in the American Southwest, and that was a lizard tail. Pluck the tail on a lizard and it comes off. A lot of species of lizards, some species in the Southwest, that will happen. I think it was in the Southwest. It might have been in, well, no, I'm pretty sure it was in the Southwest. I remember anyway the experience. I had this desiccated little lizard's tail, and I used that as a bookmark because I had nothing else. And for some odd reason, maybe I'd listened to the school moms of the day, there's certainly their electronic equivalents of BookTube, who said that the worst thing in the world you can do, worse than serial killing, is to dog-ear pages in a book. Maybe I was conscious of that and thought, well, you don't want to do that, so use whatever you have handy. 11, number 11 is used books. Yes or no? Yes, I love used books. Number 12, top 3 favorite genres. Biography, history, and probably, well, I was going to say the classics, specifically the classics of Greece and Rome. But a lot of those fall under the heading of biography or history. So I suppose my third one would be historical fiction, which I dearly love. Number 13, borrow or buy. If it's a choice between those two, buy. Borrowing does not work. I know that every time I say that, I get somebody writing in from Never Never Land saying, oh, my friends and I lend books to each other all the time, and it just brings us closer. and sometimes we'll have home-brewed microbeer. Okay, fine. In your Never Never Land. But in the real world, if you lend a book to somebody, you're never going to get it back. And if they lend it to you, they're never going to shut up about it. So I don't do that at all. This place is full of books. Every once in a blue moon, it hasn't happened in the last 10 guests, but every once in a blue moon I will have a guest come over who will actually notice the books, who will actually look at them, and maybe even poke around at them. It's amazing how many times I've filled this room with bookish people, and they don't even glance at the books that are lining every wall. But every once in a blue moon, someone will do that, and they will poke around, and maybe they'll see a book that they want. And if they do that, I just give it to them. I don't lend it to them. I don't want it back. I don't want to hear about it again. And if you try, for the passive-aggressive ones, I always add, if you try to give it back to me, I'm going to refuse. And if you make a fuss out of it, if you act like a little baby, I'm going to take it, and the instant you leave my home, I'm going to throw it in the garbage. I don't want it back at all. So it would definitely be buying in this case. Number 14, character or plot. That would be plot. Number 15, long or short books. Long. Number 16, long or short chapters. Long. Although both of those things are going to be belied by the fact that I'm doing this tag on the final day of August, which means tomorrow starts Shorty September. We're all about non-long books, about the shortest books in the world. Number 17, name the first 3 books you think of. Dalek's big biography of FDR, Toland's big biography of Hitler, and Sink the Bismarck by C.S. Forster. Speaking of Shorty September. Number 18, books that make you laugh or cry. Well, I laugh at books all the time, both when they're in on the joke and when they're not. I often laugh at books because they're simply ridiculous. But I don't cry at books. Once in a blue moon. Usually not off. Number 19, our world or fictional worlds? Our world. I know that this is going to be weird to all of you fiction addicts out there, but there is nothing anywhere in any kind of fiction, even the wildest science fiction, that is as interesting and as unlikely as our own world. Nothing. I've read a mountain of science fiction in my life. You wouldn't know it because the science fiction YouTubers don't want me. They don't want me. They don't want to know that I even exist. The science fiction and fantasy YouTubers, if they do a live stream and there are 10 comments and 5 comments down, there's one from me, they'll go one, they'll read out this comment, that comment, that comment, simply skip my comment and then keep reading. They don't want anything to do with me. They don't want to know that I exist. But I've read more science fiction and fantasy than they have. A mountain of it in my life. And even the wildest of that is not as interesting as this world. Past or present. So our world, definitely. Number 20, audiobooks, yes or no? I gave a hilarious answer to this 8 years ago. My answer, I could elaborate a little bit more now, that it would be no. Audiobooks are a godsend to a lot of people. A lot of people cannot read when they're driving. A lot of people have eye problems, cannot read at all, wouldn't be able to do it. And there were a long, long years, decades and decades, forever, when those people were simply out of luck. They couldn't use that time for reading. They were simply out of luck. I've known people like that, who had macular degeneration of one kind of, or one kind of vision degeneration or problem after another. In decades past, those people had to tell me here for Wine and Calzones in person. They had to tell me, I have to say goodbye to reading. I can't do it anymore, and you know perfectly well how much I love it. Those people don't have to say goodbye to experiencing books anymore. They don't have to do that, thanks to the proliferation of audiobooks. But they're not for me because they involve a layer of interpretation. They insert a layer of interpretation between you and the text, and I don't really want that. Now, in a lot of cases, I have to put up with that. If I'm reading, for instance, an English language translation of a book whose original language I cannot read. If I can read the original language, well, then I'm concentrating on the English language translation as a thing in itself. I'm concentrating on the things it does to enjoy or not enjoy. Almost independent of the original text. I'm concentrating on it because I don't need it. I don't need the translation in order to enjoy the original. But if I can't read the original, well, then there is a layer of interpretation between it and me, sometimes a prohibitively big layer, which is the translator. Same thing with audiobooks. Now, with translators, I can't get around it. But with audiobooks, I can. It's a voluntary. It would be me voluntarily allowing a layer of interpretation to infiltrate between me and my awareness of a book. The reader of an audiobook is choosing the intonation, is choosing the pacing, is choosing the emphasis, even, in individual sentences or paragraphs or whatnot. And I don't want someone to do that. I want to do that. I want to assess that on my own. So it would be no. Although I don't begrudge them at all. The only thing I begrudge about them is the weird habit of some fans of audiobooks of saying that listening to an audiobook is reading. I am not dismissing it at all as a way to consume a book, but it is not reading. The word reading has a definition. Anyway, number 21. Do you ever judge a book by its cover? I do. As you heard on this channel, I endlessly judge books by their cover. It is relatively easy to create a cheap, good cover for a book, and yet publishers who don't have to do anything for free, they don't have to do anything for cheap. They have a budget for design, routinely do a horrible job. So I don't judge the book that way. I judge the book's team that way. I don't think I have ever been predisposed to hate a book's contents solely because of a bad cover. I would hope that's not true for anybody. Number 22, book to movie or book to TV adaptations. I mentioned one already in this video, sure. Provided, the author of such things is usually under an enormous handicap. They usually haven't seen the finished shooting script, so they usually haven't seen the finished product. Certainly, the book is meant to debut in bookstores simultaneous with the show. So the writer has usually done months ago and has not seen the end result, hasn't seen the finished thing. So, they're usually under a crippling deadline for a small amount of money. So there are obstacles to these things being good, and yet plenty of them are. So sure, I'll take them. Number 23, a movie or TV adaptation you preferred more than the book. That's a lot. That's almost everything. You name it. Practically you name it. Did I jot down some? I can think of thousands of them. Just thousands of them. The Godfather. The perfect big example. Jurassic Park. Another perfect big example. What did I jot down? Masada. The miniseries Masada. Jaws. The Perfect Storm. The Iron Giant. Dr. Dolittle. Whether it's the slightly underrated Robert Downey Jr. version or whether it's the Rex Harrison classic. Still better than the treacly dumb books. There's a lot. I could go on and on and on and on and on about it. It's usually true. Number 24, series or standalones? Standalones. And number 25 is to tag people, but this tag has had a revival of interest. People have been doing it. whether they're calling it this or anything else, the most hilarious, I mean, Robert J. did it, of course, but the most hilarious revival version of this tag was David Murphy, who, of course, can't say, hello, I am David Murphy in a video of under 40 minutes. So I forget how many hours his video was, but my original one was 2 minutes long. And I'll try to find it and leave a link to it. I don't remember what name of the tag it was under, but I'm sure I can find it. And this was 20 minutes long. So there you go. 2 different versions. I didn't want to cancel Robert G. just because he apparently has not memorized all of my videos. So I don't know who to tag with this. If you have a BookTube channel and you haven't done this in the last 8 years, feel free to do it. Anyway, there you go. Some rapid fire questions. Not so rapid fire, done. I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.